Have you ever noticed those moments in a crowded place where everyone's laughing and having the time of their lives, but there's this strange silence inside you? They're happy, and maybe you're happy too, but at the same time, you can see things. Things that maybe everyone knows, but only you actually notice. How real is that moment of happiness? How much of it is fake? That's when you feel a different kind of loneliness, deep down, because you can see what others can't. Is this a curse or a blessing? You still don't know. Alan Watts talked about something called awakening. It's that moment when you're reading a book, or maybe after a loss, you wake up one morning and suddenly everything looks different. Everything's in its place, but it's not the same. Same street, but completely different. Same people, but it's like you're meeting them for the first time. And from that moment on, there's no going back. This is exactly the awakening Watts talked about. But it's not some sparkly, magnificent experience like in the movies. Most of the time it hurts. Because when you wake up, you realize everyone around you is still asleep. You can see people's masks now, their fears, everything. You see the chaos beneath their happiness, the games, and emptiness behind their smiles. As someone aware of all the societal pressures from past to present, you see how fake and fragile this whole theater really is. Living with this understanding, holding this view, it isolates you. Because there's this thing called social norms. When everyone's fake, how can you be real? How do you explain this to people? Let's say you try to share your perspective with others. They start calling you pessimistic. Say everything's meaningless, and they think you're depressed. But you're not saying any of that. You're just seeing. Plato had an allegory, maybe you've heard of it, called the cave allegory. People are chained in a dark cave, watching shadows on the wall, thinking that's reality. In this story, someone breaks their chains and goes outside. They see the sun. They see the real world. And when they come back, what happens? Nobody believes them. Nobody understands. They even become hostile toward them. This is where you pay the first price, the first cost of seeing too much. Loneliness. Alan Watts always saw life as a game, but here's the critical point. Everyone plays the game as if it's real. The crucial difference, you know it's a game. What does that change, you're thinking? It changes everything. People around you constantly talk about their achievements. You listen and share in their happiness. But is this success really making them happy, or is it just society's identity crisis? Society pressures us. You get a partner, everyone congratulates you, but then you wonder, is this love for me? Or am I just running from loneliness, the greatest fear of all? You're not cynical or overly pessimistic, trust me. You just see more than others. As Watts said, the ego is an illusion, but a very convincing one. And now you see this illusion in yourself and in others. You always want better, a better version of yourself to be more liked, more successful. But you can also see that all of this is fake. They're all layers. And what's real is underneath those layers. Simple, pure existence. But nobody looks there. Because looking is scary. You looked. You can't go back now. There's a truth everyone says, but nobody really means. You'll be free, wake up, you will see. But the consequence of this seeing, this reality, is also exile. You're not who you used to be anymore. Your old world is gone. You're caught between two worlds. One feels too shallow, the other hasn't taken shape yet. Think about it. In everyday hangouts, everyone's talking about daily politics, gossip, other people's lives. You try to join the conversation, but at some point, you run out of words because you have different questions in your head. Why do we take these things so seriously? At death's door, how much will any of this matter? You don't say this, of course, because you know it kills the vibe. They'll find you heavy and negative. Maybe they're right. Maybe you really are pessimistic. But what can you do? You can see now, and you can't unsee. Alan Watts says, Nirvana and samsara are the same thing, meaning awakening and illusion aren't separate. You're not outside the game, you've just realized the game is a game. But this awareness makes it harder to play the game without disconnecting from it. The second price, not belonging. Not being able to explain. This is one of the hardest things. It's a situation where words aren't enough. What you see and feel is beyond what words can express. So how do you share it? You say, everyone's playing a role. Yeah, life's a theater. They respond and move on. But they understand it as a metaphor. You see it literally. You look at it and think, identity is an illusion. Yeah, we take ourselves too seriously, they say. But they still don't get it. They're inside the role, the identity. You're watching from outside, fully aware of the game. In Zen, they call this the finger and the moon. The master points at the moon, but the student looks at the finger. Words are the finger, but truth is the moon. You've seen the moon, but you have to talk to people about the finger. And this isolates you. You know you're speaking, but you also know they don't understand what you're saying. Nobody speaks your language. You can share your presence, but you can't share your experience. So you close yourself off more, because sharing feels hopeless. The greatest pain of seeing deeply and seeing too much is this: seeing the void. You can see people's fears and pain. You see their suffering just as they see it. Other people fill this terrible void with busyness. You, on the other hand, look directly at the void. Alan Watts had a brilliant line. Man watches TV, drinks alcohol, keeps busy to forget himself, because when he remembers himself, there's nobody there. You've seen this void. You've seen that what we call the ego is just a collection of thoughts. You've seen that what you call I is actually just a story. And this can be terrifying, because you ask, if I'm an illusion, then who's living this life? And the answer is even more confusing. Nobody. Life. It's just being lived. There's no liver, just life. But this knowledge doesn't comfort you, because everyone around you still believes they're a self and seems happy. You know you're not a self and feel unhappy. What a beautiful paradox, isn't it? Unhappiness within happiness. After a while, many things in your new life start seeming funny to you. All this theater you see, everyone taking serious roles in political, social, philosophical matters. Because you see through it, it starts feeling very funny, like a game of I'm the cop, you're the robber from childhood. But this is the adult version. The moment you realize this, you both laugh and feel sad. As Watts said, existence is both tragic and comic. Tragic because we take it seriously, comic because we take it seriously. You're in this dilemma. You want to both cry and laugh because you both pity people and envy their innocence. Not knowing was nice, wasn't it? That carefree, absolute certainty. I'm right. You're wrong. This is right, that's wrong. I'm good, they're bad. You don't have that certainty anymore because you've seen every truth is a perspective. Every identity is a mask. Every belief is a story. And swimming in this uncertainty is exhausting. There are two types of loneliness. One is feeling lonely, which you're experiencing. The other is physical loneliness. Since you're experiencing the first, you're listening to this now. Can you share in the comments a time when you felt most alone in the biggest crowd? You're lonely in crowds because nobody sees what you see. This kind of loneliness hurts more because physical loneliness has a cure. When someone enters your life, physical loneliness ends. But the other doesn't work that way. Because the problem isn't physical presence, it's existential connection. You talk to others, but what you're talking about isn't the real issue. You feel others' presence, but they don't feel your existence. Alan Watts used to say, "The game of existence becomes meaningful when played together." But you're playing a different game now. Or maybe you're outside the game. And this is perfect loneliness. You can't go back anymore. The moment your eyes opened, that door closed. I wish I didn't know, you sometimes say, but you know now, and you can't erase your knowledge. You can move forward, because this is where transformation begins. Seeing too much feels like a curse at first, but over time you understand. This is a gift, because you're seeing the truth. It might hurt, but it's not a lie, and living in a lie is a greater pain. You just don't realize it, that's all. Watts says, knowing your suffering is the beginning of awakening from suffering. You see the pain now, in yourself and in others. And this seeing is the first step toward a solution. Yes, you're lonely. But this loneliness can actually be the beginning of a connection. Just a different kind of connection, more real. Because you're not wearing a mask anymore. And maybe one day you'll meet other maskless people, and that moment will be a real meeting.